Hi, my name is Zaak Kerstetter. I am an Ableton Live instructor here at Pyramind, and today I want to talk a little bit about collaboration and the workflow surrounding collaboration in Ableton, because I am a huge fan of collaboration, because not only do you get to learn from working with other people, but you also get to produce much better music by drawing upon different artists' strengths and combining them all together. I like to tell my students that collaborating gets you a song that sounds twice as good with half the amount of work. However, when you are collaborating with somebody, you are probably going to need to send files, usually across the internet these days. And there are a few things worse than getting sent a whole bunch of files that are disorganized and sloppy and don't look good. It doesn't make you look good. You want to come off as professional as possible when you're working with somebody and make their life as easy as possible so that in the future they'll want to work with you again. So there are two different types of workflow that I want to talk about. The first one is going to be what to do with your Ableton session if you are sending it to somebody who is also using Ableton. And then the second way is what to do if you are sending your song to somebody who is not going to be using Ableton, because there's going to be a big difference in how you prepare your files for your collaborator. So first, let's talk about how to prepare an Ableton session to send it to somebody else also using Ableton. But regardless of what your collaborator is using, the first thing you want to do is go into your session and tidy up a bit. And by tidy up, I primarily mean two things. The first one is to rename your tracks. You absolutely have to, no matter what, make your session look as organized as possible. So rename anything that's not properly named. And the second thing you want to do is go in and delete anything superfluous. If you have a couple tracks in here, you can see like this piano track. It's not turned on, which means I'm probably not using it. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And this track here, it looks like there's no clips on this track. So I'm also going to go through and get rid of that one and see if there's anything else. This guy can go. This other guy can also go. And there might be one or two others. Both of these guys can go. Because there's no point in sending tracks that you're not even using. And these two can also go. So make sure it looks nice and organized. Like I mentioned, rename things. Next thing you want to do is find any tracks that might have any third-party plugins that your collaborator might not have. Say, for example, I've got this track with Massive on it. Say I know for a fact that the person I'm sending this to does not have Massive. I'm just going to right-click on that, and I'm going to freeze it. It'll take a second to freeze. And what this is doing is it's re-recording this track to audio, so it will open on any computer, regardless if they have Massive or not on it. And you should go through and do this for every single track that has a third-party plugin that if you're not sure if your collaborator has or not, it'll make it so no matter what, it'll open on their computer. The next step after you freeze your track is you're going to go up to File and do a Collect All and Save. And what this is going to do, it's going to take any externally saved files that are used in your project, and it's going to save them internally within your project. So in your Collect All and Save menu, you have 4 different options to save files from. I like to keep all of them selected except for maybe factory packs. If I know the person I'm sending this to has Ableton Live Suite and has all the factory packs, there's not really any point in me saving those and then sending them. But the other ones I like to make sure all get saved in there. So I'm going to hit OK. It's going to collect all and save everything internally. So we are almost done here. The other thing that I like to do, it's not mandatory, but sometimes this can save some time and energy when sending files, is to delete any unused files that are not being used in your project. And to do that, it's pretty simple. You go up to File, Manage Files. It's going to open up your Manage File section over here on the right side of your UI. And this middle option is Manage Project. I'm going to hit that. It's going to analyze the project. And right here, we have this section that says Unused Files. And it says that there are 10 files that are saved within my project folder that aren't being used in any of my projects, which basically means they're just kind of taking up space. And so I don't want to send that to somebody else because they're not being used, they're not important. It's an extra, in this case, 83 megabytes of files that are completely useless. And normally this isn't too big of a deal unless you are recording something. If you're like a guitarist or a vocalist and you record lots of different takes and you only end up using one of those takes, those files end up sitting on your computer and taking up space. So I can hit this show button right here where it says the 10 samples that are not being used. It's going to show them over here in my browser. I'm going to select them all and just delete them. Now we can get rid of that, and we can go to our project folder here. This is really important. I can't tell you how many times I have been sent project files from students especially, where they just send me this ALS file here, when really what I need is the whole project folder. So you're going to find where your project folder is saved. Don't just send the ALS file. You're going to find your actual project that has this little folder icon with the neon lights on it. You can right click on it or control click and hit compress. If you're using a Mac, if you're using a PC, you're gonna have to zip it. And what that's gonna do is it's going to compress it onto a zip file, which makes it much easier for sending to somebody else. And now this zip file is what you're going to send to your collaborator or whoever, because it not only includes the ALS file, which includes all your tracks, your track names, your clips, everything like that, but also your samples of every single sample that you're using in your project. So everything should work. Your third-party plugins have all been frozen, so they'll work on any computer. And now your project is ready to be sent out into the world and have somebody else work on it, if they're using Ableton Live. Now the second method is going to be if you are collaborating with somebody who uses a different DAW, say Logic or Pro Tools or whatever, and they don't want your actual project folder. They only want the audio files. So the first step is going to be the same. Tidy up your session, delete things that you don't need, rename your tracks, definitely rename your tracks. You don't need to do a collect all and save, and you don't need to delete the unused files. All you're going to do is select the area that you want to export, and you're going to export audio/video or Shift Command R. Now in your export menu, instead of exporting your master, you're going to go down and hit individual tracks. And what this is going to do is it's going to bounce out every single one of your tracks, including your sends and returns, as well as your master. So I'm going to make sure I hit individual tracks. You can choose your file type, make sure you have the right amount of time selected here. 44.1 is usually what I want. You can do 16 or 24-bit. I'm going to do 16-bit because I'm afraid it's going to take forever if I do it on 24-bit for the video, but normally I'll bounce them out at 24-bit. And I'm going to hit export. And I'm going to go to where my project folder is just to keep it organized. And I'm actually going to make a new folder, and I'm going to name it after my project. So in this case, collab stems, because I just named this collab project or collab tip project. Another thing I like to do, just to make the lives of my collaborators easier, is I also like to put in the BPM. So in this case, 71 BPM, and also the key, and it's in A minor. So I'll just put that on the title of the folder so that when they get this folder, they know exactly what tempo it is, they know exactly what key it is, and they're good to go with it. So I'm going to create that folder. And this is where I'm going to save all of my stems. I'm also going to, under the Save As, just hit a spacebar so it doesn't name anything. And the reason you do that is because if you put the name of your project into the Save As here, it's going to add the name of your project before the track name of every single track you bounce out, which makes the track names really long and confusing. I like to just put a spacebar so you only get the track name. I'm going to hit save. It's going to export them, but I'm not going to make you sit here and watch while I export the whole thing, so I'm going to jump ahead until after it's done. Okay, so now all those are exported. We can go back to our folder underneath our collab stems here. And now we have all our stems that have taken the names of the tracks they're on. We have our folder here that includes the name of the project, the tempo of the project, as well as the key of the project. And once again, we're going to right click or control click and hit compress to turn that into a zip file. And then we can send that zip file to whomever we want, and they can load all those files up into any DAW, and it should work perfectly. So those are the two workflows that you're going to use to get a project from your computer to somebody else's computer. And just a quick review. If you are sending to somebody else using Ableton, you're going to first delete any excess tracks, rename any tracks so that they make sense, freeze any third-party plugins, do a collect all and save, delete any unused files, and then zip your project folder. If you're sending to somebody who is not using Ableton, you're going to simply first make sure everything is named correctly, and then export all your tracks individually to a folder that contains the project name, the tempo, and the key, and then you're going to zip it. And you are good to go.
Very much like to thank Pyramind for hosting me here once again. I think this institution is really cool, and until I came here for the first time, I had never seen anything like it in my whole life.
What I think really separates us from other people who teach is that we are outrageously passionate about what we do, and especially in electronic music.
Since coming to Pyramind, I've discovered electronic music, and San Francisco being a mecca for underground electronic music opened up so many doors for me and kind of blew my mind.
We cover everything from absinthe to contact. When people get to the mind-melting level, we get into modular synthesis.
Everything about native instruments, everything about Logic synths down to the finest detail. We learned it all.
The fundamentals of understanding how things work, that's just essential. But then beyond that, there's so much more, and that's where it gets into just a lot of the artistic side of like the creative approach of why you do something, not just how.
There's a lot of schools that just, they focus on the technicality of recording music, but I wanted something that would foster creativity and really help me develop as an artist as well.
Each of our genre-specific programs comes in 4 levels. There's a basic, an advanced, a professional, and then a master's level. And the master's level is, of course, everything we do. It's the largest and most powerful programs that we can create for you.